Commissioner Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a motion that was approved by the Audit Committee about an hour ago. I move that the Knox County Audit Committee recommend to Knox County Commission that the actions of the internal auditor in commencing a performance audit of Knox County Schools credit card program be ratified, and in proceeding with the audit, the extent and scope shall be developed by the internal auditor. Furthermore, move that should the internal auditor deem it necessary to conduct an audit of the Knox County Schools purchasing program and its travel expenditures, that she be so authorized. Mr. Chairman, I move for passage.
Motion before us. Do I hear a second? Second. Motion and second. Commissioner McKenzie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess there's two things in there. The first word is, and I'll ask the law director, could you define ratify? It sounded like that motion asked us to ratify something.
It's asking you to ratify our behavior or approve a behavior that's probably already taken place.
Okay.
Okay.
Understood. So is that going to hurt or harm us going forward with the behavior that's already taken place? I just don't want that to continue. So I don't want to get to where, well, you've ratified it, so we've ratified the behavior or the action that's probably already taken place. I won't say behavior. Right. How would that?
It only deals with this one action. That's all that's before this body, and the motion is, it's on its face what it says, and y'all can discuss it and deal with it as you see.
And then the second question, I don't know, I guess it's to the members of commission that were here, and it read fairly quickly. So the issue with travel, I just heard the word, Commissioner Brown. Could you read that again?
Further move that should the internal auditor deem it necessary to conduct an audit of the Knox County Schools purchasing program and its travel expenditures, that she be so authorized. Let me explain.
Yeah. So my question, just so you get purchasing, I agree. I'm trying to understand how y'all got to travel as well. So just help me with that.
What we're trying to get away from is the confusion we had at last month's commission meeting, when it was voted that it had to go back to the audit committee to be able to allow our auditor to start work, when in truth it did not have to be. As I said, the buck stops here. We can authorize it anytime we want. This gives her some leeway, and it also says in effect that 3 months from now, if she finds a problem in whatever department you want to call it, she has it, and it's deemed to be of significance, that she has the authority to go ahead and start checking into it then. And this is a good time, I guess, as any, Charles, to bring this up. But he's going to read you the code in a minute. But just to remind you that September 11th was when the nutrition supervisor was just placed on leave. We did not hear about it, get an official notification until September 16th. And Charles has the code here, if you want to read that, Charles, what it says and what the obligation of the school board is in case something does come up.
Okay, let us pause for just a second. At this point in the discussion, Commissioner McKenzie was asking a couple of questions. So the first question was that answered by the law director?
It was, and I agree with that.
And then the second question was about the scope, and I think that having sat through that discussion, we first started out saying credit card, and it was like the scope was going to be directed only at 6 credit cards, as the Board of Education had requested, for a 5-year period forensic audit. that we were advised maybe that's a little bit too long a window, unless something comes up, and that we should maybe just look at 2 years. I think that's what's in your motion, right? 2 years. And it may be that something may be found that maybe leads a thread to some other credit card, and we said credit card, I guess, at the occurrence of this could be like a fuel card or any other instrument that is used in lieu of cash that then gets charged back against the Board of Education. I believe that's why it sort of went too long in trying to describe. It's more than just the 6 credit cards. If the 6 credit cards leads us in a direction, and not us, if it leads the auditor in a direction of some other thread.
So I guess my question is, wouldn't that be done without the additional words? My concern is that we're giving Andrea too big of a scope, and we won't get back what we're after. If we say credit cards, that has tentacles that can go everywhere. If we keep that in a box, so that to me this is the first I've heard of credit cards. I guess during the discussion, it's the first that credit cards have come up. First time the credit cards have come up, not non-P card credit cards. And I do understand the logic behind it, but if we just open it up to credit cards, it's again, I'll be clear. My fear, my concern is that we end up going in directions that could be counterproductive, but more importantly, are not utilizing a limited resource, a very valuable but extremely limited resource. So that's my primary concern, and with the wording that I heard just now.
And not to draw it out, I think that Commission, as we're facing the question, we don't need to be back and authorizing her sentence by sentence, which is what we sort of got ourselves into with the nutrition program. Mm-hmm. We may have too broad a scope, but we may be better off with a broad scope than a narrow scope, in that the external auditor has said that this needs to happen as it is found and keep the ball rolling rather than coming back to Commission to make sure that we're on the right track.
And I would be comfortable with those words, auditing the P card situation, however you phrase it, and other ancillary things as they are found. I'm fine to, if she gets a thread, or whoever the auditor, he or she gets a thread, they need to run that to ground. Okay. But if we just put a category in, credit cards, then that's my concern.
Well, it says the extent and scope shall be developed by the internal auditor. So as she finds something, she has carte blanche to dig it out.
Okay. Now, while we're paused, there has been a significant question come in my mind of the extent to which we Commission, we authorizing this audit, we need to make sure that we do not compromise something that may come up of a legal nature. So at this particular point in time, I need to ask for comment from Butch Bryant. Would you give your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, my name is Carlton Butch Bryant. I'm with the Sheriff's Office. I'm an attorney for the Sheriff as well as a certified police officer. I'm actively involved in the investigation that you all are talking about right now. We are in the process, we are working with the State Comptroller's Office, who will be doing a forensic audit. We are also working with the school's investigator as we learn various facts in this investigation. And I think it's just important that you all know that there is a pending criminal investigation into this matter. The State Comptroller's Office is doing a forensic examination of these records. And one of the things I heard Commissioner McKenzie say was limited resources. And I just want you all to know that we are very actively investigating this right now.
So, does anyone have that's the reason I wanted this brought to the front, because our external auditor is also still here in the audience.
And by the way, we are working with the external auditor also. We're providing the external auditor. I just got off the phone with one of the external auditors earlier today. We are providing them documentation as we uncover it and as they need it.
Are there other questions of Mr. Bryant? Commissioner McKenzie.
Just real quick, I don't know if you've heard our dialogue about the performance audit. Is that similar to what you think you're getting at with you all and the comptroller?
Commissioner, when you say performance audit, what do you mean by that?
We had a long conversation about that, and I guess Andrea can get to. You get into the finances. Are you just dealing with the criminal aspects of the audit, or are you dealing with the operational aspects of the nutrition department, which could be out of compliance?
Unfortunately, in the investigation, we are dealing with, we are limited to criminal investigation, but we are going through the operational portion of the nutrition's office. Okay. I'm aware, and we have information with regard to both the credit cards that you're talking about, and I heard somebody make reference to fleet cards. We're aware of all of that, and we're investigating that. I've got those records.
Thank you.
So are you working with the internal auditor also?
I have not had any conversations with the internal auditor, but I have no problem with working with the internal auditor to the extent that we can with regard to a criminal investigation.
Well,
correct. I think where we are right now is that we have been made aware that there is an ongoing criminal investigation and that we need to respect those lines and not compromise the criminal investigation.
Thank you very much.
That's why I think that he should be in contact with our internal auditor so that they can define their parameters. And if he finds anything that she needs to know about, he can pass that along, and she might find something he needs to find. I mean, there's no reason they can't work independently and together.
Right, because as Commissioner McKenzie made the point, there is a difference here between the criminal investigation and Commissioner McKenzie's words, performance audit, meaning are the books balanced?
Well, still doesn't preclude them from working together.
Right, and now that we're getting to the point of there is an ongoing criminal investigation, and you did say of two separate things. One is a nutrition program, and one is the usage of credit cards. You have two.
I think the nutrition program includes the credit cards.
I'm not going to comment on that. What's facing commission is that there are two separate individuals involved in the two separate instances.
That's correct.
Okay, and you have two.
That's been made public, yes.
Okay, and then you may have other things that you may find, which that then bears up me saying again, we do not want to compromise the investigation of law enforcement.
And that is part of my concern and why I'm before commission today. The stuff that we gather for the criminal investigation, once it's complete, will of course be available to anybody under the Open Records Act, and I question whether we're going to be duplicating work that we have been very actively involved in since mid-September.
Are there any other specific questions at this time for Mr. Bryant?
No, not for Mr. Bryant.
There are lights on. I was looking for a show of hand if someone had particular questions for Mr. Bryant. Not seeing any, thank you, sir, but please make yourself available here if we...
Yes.
I believe Commissioner Bussler had the next floor.
Well, this is sort of like a comment. I was here at your meeting here, and what I heard the external auditors direct our auditor was in saying that if she's auditing and she finds another little stream that she needs to come back to us, guidance, and that's why it was left so broad in it. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So we were advised by an external auditor, this is the way it should be done, correct?
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Owenby?
Yeah, I was at the audit committee meeting too, not a voting member. I want to make that clear. And Mr. Pugh, he could probably clarify it for us if he needs to, but we were told that we needed to make it broad because you don't want her having to come back here because it takes away the element of surprise every time you have to come back here and get approval, just go there and look for another stream. From my understanding, Andrea is going to basically be looking at the processes and the policies and what did they have in place. I know they've already moved the credit cards and done away with those, and they're on the county's credit card now system. But it's the other ones that we worry about. It's the ones that the gas cards, and are they being used properly, and are they filling up their own gas tanks with them, and not county vehicles. The Sam's cards, from my understanding, there's 27 of those out there, and have they been used properly? That's the whole point of this, and I don't think, from my understanding is that Andrea is not going to be interfering with the criminal part of it. It's just to go around. I guess if she does find something, she will relay that to Pugh and Company as well as the sheriff's office as far as that goes. So she can correct me if I'm wrong on that. And she's come down here, so I say I'm wrong on something.
Give your name and address for the record, please.
Andrea Addis, 1309 Woodland Ridge Lane, Knoxville, Tennessee, 37919. I wasn't coming to say you're wrong. I was just coming to give some context behind what are our rules about investigations and things like that. Under the Yellow Book, we're required to work with the law department and any other investigatory arms of the county to ensure that our audit doesn't interfere with their investigation. We don't want to impede the process and of what they're doing, because that's recovery or criminal or other charges that could be brought against individuals or departments or processes or whatever they're doing. We don't want to interfere with that. So as part of our audit process, we have those conversations. We've had them in the past to make sure that we weren't going to overstep or interfere with any kind of pending investigation or litigation. It's not just an investigation. There could be pending litigation against the county or that the county's going to put out there. So we do work very closely to make sure that those things don't happen, because that would diminish the value of the investigation or litigation, and we don't want to do that. And if we did find something that was potentially criminal in nature, we would have to turn it over at that point to the proper authorities for them to continue the investigation. We don't have the subpoena power, all that stuff to do it. We want to make sure it got investigated properly. So those are our rules. We cannot interfere. We don't want to interfere. We have to know what the parameters of the investigations are and how we can structure the audit, what information can and cannot be given out in the report that would interfere with the investigation. That's all part of our audit process. We're very careful about that.
Okay, and that's what I understood from Chairman Anders' email that he sent out to us when they discussed to go ahead and to start on this, because of the nature, that you would be working with them if you did find anything. That we're not here to hinder their investigation. We're actually here to help in any way we can. So thank you, Andrew. I appreciate it.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor that is to proceed with an internal audit. And speaking to the concerns about impeding an investigation, the guidelines of the book by which she operates has that included in it. So we can either add it to your motion if you wish, or we can leave it the way it stands. The motion that's before us is a good motion.
What do you want to add, did you say?
No, I don't think there's anything. We could have added, do not impede or compromise an ongoing criminal investigation.
Well, I think that stands
But that stands.
to reason. I mean,
that stands in what she just said out of the
Exactly.
Yellow Book.
But-
So do we have further discussion about the motion as it stands before us?
Well, we had this discussion earlier with the law director and deputy, that this technically sets a precedent for future ones, that we do not have to do each one of these this way in the future. In other words, as I said a while ago, if something comes up in 6 months, she finds it in the XYZ department, somebody reports it, she doesn't have to wait till it comes before. If it's of significance, she doesn't have to wait till it to come before the audit committee or the commission. She can start in on it. Passing this authorizes future ones.
Further discussion on the motion that's before us. Commissioner McKenzie?
I guess I'm going to have to ask, because I don't agree with anything Commissioner Brown just said, and I don't think anything that he read binds us to allow her or whoever her successors are to audit anything that they choose to. That's my issue. That's my concern. It's not this point. We're going to audit this. What I don't want is for us to just start willy-nilly calling out audits. I don't like the fact that Commissioner Norman took the job with the county, so should I take that department and push her to audit them because they found $28,000 to pay him? No, that's not my scope. That's not what we do. That's not the point and the purpose of it. So if we're going to pass a resolution as spoken, even today, I know we'll see it next week, but if we're going to do it as spoken, we're not doing our job. We are the body that drives the audit committee. We're the body. We need to drive the audit committee. We need to, when I say drive the audit committee, drive the internal auditor based on recommendations from that committee. We can't do that, and hopefully, I didn't read any of what Commissioner Brown said into that resolution.
You're correct.
Okay.
What was the motion that was before us was to implement an internal audit of credit vehicles,
Okay.
devices of credit.
Well, let's move on.
It does not modify or amend any of the processes or procedures of Knox County as relates to the commission or the audit committee,
Thank you.
other than what's specifically in this motion about this audit. All audits will stand on their own. Is that?
So could I introduce a substitute motion that we send this on without comment? I forgot the
Okay,
word.
recommendation.
Recommendation, thank you.
are you
Yeah, this is a substitute motion so that we can see it in print and vote on it on Monday.
Okay, substitute motion before us to hear a second. That the item be sent to full commission, no recommendation. The motion dies for the lack of a second. It will be pulled off.
Oh, I would definitely pull it off.
Okay.
Consent.
Back on the original motion.
Charlie Bustler, did you have a?
I just wanted.
Excuse me, Commissioner Bustler.
I just wanted a clarification here, that what we were voting on is what was added to that was on if we call for a special audit, like we've just done, that this would open it to where if the internal auditor, whoever it may be, if they find something else when they're looking, that they have to come back to us for additional guidance if they find something different or in addition to what is being audited? Is that what was being said?
What is happening on this audit of the credit card devices, vehicles, whatever, of the Board of Education, if there is credible need to continue the audit in other directions, that will occur, and that occurs in this audit.
But it does not affect or bind us to any other type?
Not in any future audits. All audits stand on their own.
Okay, good.
Motion is before us, properly second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Next item.